Welcome to AudioBooks. Book title, You Become What You Think. The Secret to Transforming Your Life. Chapter 1. The Invisible Architect. How Thoughts Silently Design the Life You're Living Right Now. Imagine waking up tomorrow in a house you didn't consciously choose, filled with rooms you never designed and built on a foundation you never inspected. You'd probably feel uneasy, maybe even trapped. Yet for most people, that's exactly what life is, a structure built not by deliberate choice, but by invisible blueprints drawn in the mind over years of repeated thoughts. Your mind is the architect, your thoughts the blueprints, and your life the structure that results. This building project never stops. Every single thought, whether fleeting or persistent, lays a brick, draws a line, or paints a wall in the reality you live in today. The tricky part, most of this construction happens without your permission. Your thoughts are shaped by childhood experiences, cultural conditioning, fears, and the stories you've told yourself so many times they feel like truth. Just as an architect's plans determine how a building will look long before it's built, your habitual thoughts quietly predetermine the life you experience before it even unfolds. Why you don't notice the architect at work? We rarely connect the dots between thought and reality because the changes are slow and subtle. A single day of worrying doesn't ruin a life. A single moment of optimism doesn't build an empire. But just as drops of water can carve a canyon, repeated thoughts carve the path of your future, whether you want them to or not. Think of your mind as a GPS. If it's programmed with the wrong destination, it doesn't matter how fancy your car is, you'll end up somewhere you didn't want to go. Similarly, if your thoughts are programmed with fear, self-doubt, or limitation, you'll keep navigating towards situations that match those feelings. The unspoken rule of life creation. Here's the quiet, almost unfair truth. Life responds to the quality of your dominant thoughts, not the fairness of your circumstances. Two people can start with the same resources, yet end up in different realities, one thriving, one stuck. The difference isn't luck. It's the mental architecture that shaped their daily choices, opportunities, and resilience. This is why changing your life isn't just about learning new skills or finding motivation. It's about redesigning the blueprint that's been running your life in the background. A new way to see yourself. If you want a different life, you must first become a different thinker. The moment you realize you're not just a tenant in your life, but also the architect, is the moment you reclaim your power. You are not stuck with the house you live in. You can tear down the old walls of fear and rebuild with the bricks of possibility. The question is, will you keep letting the invisible architect design without supervision, or will you step in and take the pen? Chapter 2. Your Mind as the Control Tower. Understanding the brain's role in shaping reality. If your life were an aircraft, your mind would be the control tower. It's not the engines, the wings, or the fuel. It's the part that decides where you go, how you get there, and whether you even take off at all. From the control tower, every incoming piece of information is assessed, categorized, and acted upon. The outside world may send storms, turbulence, or perfect flying weather, but the final decision about how to respond comes from the tower. In other words, your brain isn't just reacting to reality, it's directing it. Your brain filters reality. The human brain processes millions of bits of sensory data every second. But here's the thing. You don't consciously experience all of it. Instead, your mind acts like a radar screen, showing you only what it believes is relevant. This is called the reticular activating system, a built-in filter that decides what you notice and what you ignore. Have you ever thought about buying a certain car, and suddenly you see it everywhere? That's not magic. It's your RAS focusing on what your mind has decided matters. The same principle works with opportunities, ideas, and even relationships. If your control tower is tuned to fear, you'll detect threats everywhere. If it's tuned to growth, you'll spot possibilities others overlook. Instructions to the pilot. Your thoughts and beliefs act like flight instructions sent from the control tower to you. If those instructions are full of doubt, you'll hesitate to take off. If they're filled with confidence, you'll soar, even in challenging conditions. The fascinating part is that your brain doesn't distinguish much between imagined scenarios and real ones. This is why visualization works. When you mentally rehearse success, your brain begins preparing your body and behavior for that reality, as if it's already happening. When the control tower malfunctions, sometimes the tower sends out faulty instructions. Thoughts like, I can't, I'm not good enough, or this will never work. If these messages repeat often enough, they become standard operating procedures, and your flight path always leads you back to the same limiting destinations. The good news? You can retrain the control tower. By feeding it new data through conscious thought, learning, and intentional focus, you can reprogram the radar, change the flight plans, and chart an entirely new destination. Becoming the chief air traffic controller. The first step is realizing you're in charge. Yes, your brain has been conditioned over years, but conditioning can be updated. You have the power to clear your mental airspace of negative patterns and direct your focus towards the realities you actually want to land in. The plane of your life is always in the air. The question is, will your control tower keep sending you back to the same old airport, or will you finally chart a new destination? Chapter 3. The Law of Mental Equivalence. Why you attract what you habitually think about. There's a little-known principle in personal transformation called the Law of Mental Equivalence. In simple terms, whatever mental picture you hold in your mind tends to manifest in your life. Your outer world becomes the mirror of your inner world. If you carry a mental image of struggle, you'll unconsciously create situations that match it. If you hold a vision of growth and abundance, your actions, opportunities, and even the people you meet will begin to align with that image. It's not superstition. It's the mind's natural process of turning belief into behavior and behavior into results. A story of two gardeners. Imagine two gardeners. The first spends all day picturing weeds and pests invading her plants. She obsesses over the possibility of failure, and even when she waters her garden, she does it with tension and doubt. The second gardener pictures a lush, blooming space, alive with color. She tends to her plants with care, focusing on the growth she expects to see. Over time, their gardens become a reflection of their attention. One is a constant battle, the other is a thriving sanctuary. The soil is the same, the only difference is the mental picture each gardener carried while working. Your life is no different. Why this works? Your brain constantly seeks to match your external world to your internal images. Through mechanisms like the reticular activating system, or RAS, and confirmation bias, your mind notices, remembers, and acts on what aligns with your dominant thoughts. Think, I'm unlucky, and you'll notice every setback while ignoring the good breaks. Think, I always find a way, and you'll start spotting solutions before others even see problems. exercise, your mental blueprint audit. Grab a notebook and try this now. Choose a life area. Pick one category: career, health, relationships, or finances. List your dominant thoughts. Be honest. What's the inner dialogue you repeat about this area? Write the mental picture. If you turned those thoughts into an image, what would it look like? Ask yourself, if my life continues to follow this mental picture, where will I be in 5 years? Create a new picture. Draw or describe the image you want to see instead. Do this for at least one area of life each week, and you'll start catching old images before they harden into reality. From thought to tangible. The law of mental equivalence works whether you use it consciously or not. The key is to stop holding mental pictures you don't want to live in and start consistently picturing the ones you do. You don't have to know how it will happen yet. Just like an architect doesn't need every construction detail to start a blueprint, you only need the mental design. The rest unfolds through action, focus, and the opportunities your mind begins to notice. If you keep holding a better picture, eventually your life will have no choice but to resemble it. Chapter 4. The Cycle of Belief and Reality. How beliefs create actions. Actions create results, and results reinforce beliefs. If your thoughts are the blueprint and your mind is the control tower, then your beliefs are the building codes your life must follow. You cannot build higher than the limits of what you believe is possible. Beliefs are not just ideas you hold, they are the rules your brain uses to filter reality. And here's the catch. Once you believe something, your mind will work tirelessly to prove you right. It's not trying to deceive you, it's simply following its programming. The loop you live in. Every belief you have starts a chain reaction. Belief shapes how you see yourself and the world. Perception filters the opportunities and threats you notice. Action determines how you respond or don't respond to those opportunities. Result confirms what you believed in the first place. This loop runs silently day after day, creating a self-reinforcing cycle. For example, if you believe, "I'm terrible at public speaking," you'll feel anxious when asked to present. You might speak too quickly or avoid presentations altogether. The result, you stumble through it or never improve, reinforcing your belief that you're bad at it. The cycle continues. The science of self-fulfilling prophecies. Psychologists call this a self-fulfilling prophecy, a prediction that directly or indirectly causes itself to become true. It works both ways. Beliefs of failure create failure, while beliefs of capability create competence. Your brain is wired to conserve energy, so it tries to make reality match what it already knows, rather than constantly reevaluating. That's why breaking a limiting belief often feels uncomfortable. It requires reprogramming the system. Breaking the cycle. To escape the loop, you have to interrupt it. Challenge the belief. Ask, is this an unshakable fact or just a long-standing assumption? Collect contradictory evidence. Look for examples where the belief didn't hold true. Act against the belief. Even small actions taken in defiance of a limiting belief begin to weaken it. Celebrate new results. Use them as proof to reinforce the new belief. Each time you complete this process, the loop starts running in your favor instead of against you. Exercise. Belief tracking journal. This week, pick one limiting belief you've been carrying. Write it down. Document every time you notice yourself acting in alignment with it. Each day, intentionally take one small action that contradicts it. At the end of the week, note any shifts in how you think or feel about that belief. You'll be surprised how quickly cracks begin to form in even the oldest mental walls. Why this matters? Beliefs are the architects of your destiny. If you want a different life, you must become a different believer. Once you replace an old belief with an empowering one, the actions and results will naturally follow just as surely as the old ones once held you back. Chapter 5. Identifying your thought patterns. Recognizing the mental scripts you've been unknowingly running. Before you can change your thoughts, you must first catch them in the act. Most people believe they're aware of what they think, but in reality, much of their mental life is happening just below the surface, like background music you've stopped noticing until someone turns it off. Your daily thoughts aren't random. They're patterns, repetitive themes and tones and storylines your brain repeats out of habit. Some are helpful, but others are like old operating systems that desperately need an update. Why patterns matter. Patterns shape perception. If your mental default setting is, "Things never work out for me," your brain will constantly scan for proof of that, ignoring or downplaying good news. Over time, this mental bias becomes your reality. By spotting these patterns, you gain the ability to rewrite them before they solidify into unshakable beliefs. The three main types of thought patterns. Repetitive loops, thoughts that replay endlessly, usually about fears, mistakes, or what-ifs. Emotional filters, thoughts colored by a constant emotional tone, example, anxious, resentful, hopeful. Narrative scripts, the stories you tell yourself about who you are, what life is like, and what's possible for you. Every negative loop, filter, or script is a thread you can pull to unravel an entire limiting mindset. Spotting your patterns in real time. The easiest way to notice thought patterns is to become an observer rather than a participant in your own mind. This is called meta-awareness, the ability to step back and watch your thoughts without instantly believing or reacting to them. One of the best tools for this is the pause test. Whenever you feel a strong emotion, pause and ask, "What was I just thinking?" Write down the exact thought, no matter how small or silly it seems. Repeat over several days and look for recurring phrases or themes. You'll be amazed how often the same thought or variations of it pops up. Exercise. The Mental X-ray Journal. For 1 week, carry a small notebook or use your phone's Notes app. Whenever you notice a repetitive thought, jot it down. At the end of the week, review your notes and circle the top 3 most common. Next to each, write the story that thought is telling you about yourself or the world. This mental X-ray will reveal the scripts that have been quietly steering your life. Awareness is power. You can't fight an enemy you can't see, and you can't change a thought you haven't noticed. By bringing your mental patterns into the light, you shift from being run by them to running them. The goal isn't to judge your thoughts, it's to understand them so you can choose new ones on purpose. Chapter 6. The Enemy Within. How self-doubt, fear, and negative self-talk sabotage your growth. In every story of transformation, there's always a villain. In your story, the most dangerous one isn't a competitor, a critic, or even your circumstances. It's the voice inside your own head. This inner saboteur isn't born evil. It's a cautious, overprotective part of you that learned to keep you safe by keeping you small. It uses self-doubt, fear, and negative self-talk as weapons, convincing you that risk is danger and change is threat. But here's the truth. The inner enemy doesn't destroy you with one big strike. It wears you down with 1,000 whispered lies. The three faces of the inner enemy. Self-doubt, the quiet whisper that says, "Who do you think you are?" It feeds on comparison, magnifies your flaws, and makes your goals feel out of reach before you even start. Fear, not the healthy fear that keeps you from walking into traffic, but the fear that freezes you from pursuing opportunities. It disguises itself as being realistic, but its real goal is to keep you in familiar territory. Negative self-talk, the relentless commentary in your head that focuses on every mistake, magnifies every weakness, and erases every win. Over time, it becomes the default soundtrack of your life. Why the inner enemy is so convincing. Your brain evolved to keep you alive, not to make you happy. To the survival brain, unknown equals danger. That's why even when your rational mind says, "Go for it," your deeper instincts may scream, "Don't risk it." The inner enemy is clever. It will use logic, past failures, and even the opinions of others to justify holding you back. The more you listen, the more believable it becomes. The cost of letting it win. Every time you surrender to self-doubt, fear, or negative self-talk, you reinforce the belief that you can't. And beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. Slowly, the walls close in. Dreams get smaller. Risks feel bigger. And life shrinks to fit the limits of your mental cage. Exposing the lies. To weaken the inner enemy, you must learn to separate facts from fear-based stories. Fact: I've never done this before. Fear story: I'll never be able to do this. The first is true and neutral. The second is speculation, and speculation can be rewritten. Exercise: the inner enemy interrogation. When a limiting thought appears, write it down exactly as you hear it. Ask, is this an absolute fact or just a story? If it's a story, write a more empowering version. Example, change "I'll fail" to "I can learn what I need to succeed." Do this consistently, and you'll start catching the enemy in real time before it steals another opportunity. The turning point. The inner enemy can be loud, but it's not all-powerful. The moment you recognize it for what it is, a frightened, outdated voice trying to keep you in your comfort zone, you weaken its hold. You can't always silence it completely, but you can stop letting it captain the ship. Chapter 7. Mind Filters and Perception. How your brain selectively focuses on what matches your dominant thoughts. Imagine standing in a crowded room, surrounded by dozens of conversations, music playing, and plates clinking. Amid all that noise, you hear someone say your name from across the room. Why? Because your brain is always filtering for what it thinks matters to you. This mental sorting system is called the reticular activating system, or RAS, and it works like the gatekeeper of your perception. It scans your environment for anything it considers important and lets that information into your conscious awareness while ignoring the rest. The surprising part? You train it often without realizing it. Your brain sees what you expect to see. If you've ever thought about buying a certain car, suddenly that exact model seems to be everywhere. The cars were always there, you just weren't tuned in to notice them. This is how your mental filters work. If you believe the world is dangerous, you'll spot threats everywhere. If you believe opportunities are all around me, you'll start noticing possibilities you previously walked past. Your reality is not just shaped by what's out there, it's shaped by what you notice about what's out there. The confirmation trap. Your RAS works hand in hand with confirmation bias, your brain's tendency to seek evidence that supports your existing beliefs while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. That's why two people can walk into the same situation and see completely different things. One sees a dead end, the other sees a chance to grow. This is why the inner enemy from Chapter 6 feels so convincing. Once fear or doubt sets a mental filter, your brain goes hunting for proof it's right. Changing the lens. The good news is mental filters are programmable. You can direct your RAS by focusing on what you want instead of what you fear. Using daily questions like, "What opportunities can I find today?" Visualizing your goals clearly so your brain starts tagging related cues in your environment. The more you train your mind to scan for possibilities, the more they seem to appear, not because the world changed overnight, but because you did. Exercise, the awareness experiment. For the next 48 hours, pick a random object or color, for example, red umbrellas or yellow cars. Notice how many times it appears in your environment. After the 2 days, switch your focus to something related to a current goal, for example, business opportunities or friendly strangers. You'll see how quickly your brain adapts its filters and realize you can aim them at what matters most to you. Why this is crucial for transformation? If you don't take control of your mental filters, they'll default to the patterns and fears you've carried for years. But once you consciously adjust them, life starts to feel different, not because you're lucky, but because you're finally tuned into the signals that were always there, waiting for you to notice. Chapter 8. Escaping the Mental Prison. Steps to break free from limiting beliefs and internal narratives. Most people live inside invisible walls. They aren't made of bricks or steel. They're made of thoughts, fears, and assumptions. These walls look normal from the inside. In fact, many never even notice them. But they define the boundaries of your life, quietly dictating what you attempt, what you avoid, and ultimately, who you become. This is the mental prison. And the key to freedom is realizing it's not permanent. You hold the blueprint for the bars, and you can start dismantling them now. Step 1. Recognize the walls. The first step in escaping is noticing that walls exist. Ask yourself, which beliefs make me hesitate? What thoughts stop me from pursuing my goals? When do I self-sabotage without realizing it? Awareness is the flashlight that exposes the invisible cage. Step 2. Name your limits. Give your limiting beliefs a name. Examples: the fear of rejection, the not good enough script, the scarcity mindset. Naming these forces takes away some of their power. It's easier to fight a known enemy than an undefined shadow. Step 3. Challenge the rules of your prison. Every prison has rules, but most mental rules are assumptions, not facts. Assumption: I can't change careers at my age. Fact: you can retrain, learn, and pivot with planning. Write down each limiting belief and ask, is this 100% true? Can I prove it under all circumstances? More often than not, the answer will be no. Step 4. Small escapes build momentum. You don't have to break the entire wall in one day. Small acts of defiance weaken the prison over time. Speak up when you normally stay silent. Try something new, even if it scares you. Replace a negative thought with a positive, actionable one. Each act is a chisel stroke, slowly eroding the cage. Step 5. Build new walls with purpose. Freedom doesn't mean no structure. It means building walls you choose. Walls of belief, habits, and mental focus that support growth instead of limiting it. For example, replace "I'm not capable" with "I can learn and adapt." Replace "I always fail" with "I can experiment and improve." Now your prison becomes a sanctuary, a structure designed to empower instead of trap. Exercise the mental prison escape map. Draw a circle representing your current mental world. Mark the limiting beliefs or fears that define the boundaries. For each belief, write one small action to challenge it this week. Track your progress and note how the circle expands as walls crumble. This visual approach makes the abstract very real. You can literally see yourself escaping. The freedom mindset. Escaping the mental prison is not a single heroic act. It's a series of intentional steps taken daily. With each challenge to fear, each reframed thought, and each small victory, the invisible walls weaken. The moment you realize the prison was constructed by you and can be deconstructed by you, transformation stops being a dream. It becomes inevitable. Chapter 9. From automatic to intentional thinking. Moving from reactive thoughts to chosen ones. Most of your life is guided by automatic thoughts, those mental patterns running quietly in the background, shaping your decisions, emotions, and behaviors without your conscious input. These are useful when they serve you, but dangerous when they reinforce fear, doubt, or limitation. Intentional thinking is the difference between reacting to life and creating life. It's the conscious decision to direct your mental energy, rather than letting habits and circumstances dictate your reality. The cost of automatic thinking. Automatic thoughts feel normal because they've been repeated so often, but they often carry hidden costs. Missed opportunities because you default to fear. Repeated mistakes because your mind repeats old scripts. Self-sabotage because negative patterns feel familiar. Your brain doesn't know the difference between helpful and harmful repetition. It simply executes whatever is most practiced. The power of intention. Intentional thinking flips the script. It's about choosing the thoughts that serve your growth and actively noticing when the old automatic patterns appear. Key principles. Awareness. Notice thoughts before they control your actions. Selection. Decide which thoughts align with your goals and values. Repetition. Reinforce these chosen thoughts until they become new mental habits. Over time, intentional thinking rewires your brain. Your RAS from Chapter 7 begins to scan for solutions, opportunities, and perspectives that match your chosen focus. Exercise. Thought interception. Carry a small notebook or use your phone to record recurring automatic thoughts. Each time a limiting thought appears, pause and ask, "Is this thought helping me or holding me back?" Replace it with a deliberate, constructive thought. Automatic. I can't do this. Intentional. I will figure out how to handle this step by step. Repeat consistently. Your brain learns to default to chosen thoughts instead of old reactive ones. Micro moments of choice. Intentional thinking doesn't require giant leaps. It starts with small conscious choices. Choosing gratitude instead of complaint. Responding to stress with calm analysis instead of panic. Looking for opportunity instead of focusing on obstacles. These micro moments accumulate, reshaping your mental patterns and creating lasting change. Why this matters. Your mind is like a garden. Automatic thoughts are weeds, silent, persistent, and hard to remove once established. Intentional thoughts are seeds. You plant them, nurture them, and over time they flourish, overtaking the old weeds. The difference between living passively and creating actively is one choice at a time. Each intentional thought strengthens your control over your life, making transformation not just possible, but inevitable. Chapter 10. The Language of the Mind. Using affirmations, visualization, and mental imagery to rewire your brain. Your thoughts speak a language, and if you listen carefully, you'll realize they're constantly communicating instructions to your mind and body. The problem? Many of us only speak the language of doubt, fear, and limitation. To transform your life, you must learn to speak a new language, one that trains your mind, focuses your attention, and rewires your subconscious for success. Affirmations, words that build reality. Affirmations are short, positive statements repeated intentionally to embed new beliefs. They work because your brain doesn't initially distinguish between imagined and real scenarios. It reacts to repetition and emotional intensity. Example, instead of saying, "I'm not ready for this," use, "I am capable of learning and growing every day." Repeat it daily. Feel it emotionally, and watch your mind begin to align actions with this new belief. Visualization, the mind's rehearsal. Visualization is mental imagery with purpose. Olympic athletes, top performers, and high achievers all use it because the brain prepares your body and behavior as if the scenario is real. Close your eyes and vividly imagine achieving your goal. Engage all your senses. See it, hear it, feel it. Repeat daily to train your mind to recognize opportunities and take actions that match your vision. The more real it feels, the stronger your brain's blueprint becomes. Mental imagery beyond vision. Mental imagery goes beyond visualizing success. It can be used to overcome fear. Imagine handling a stressful situation calmly. Reinforce confidence. Picture yourself performing at your best. Break habits. Visualize yourself saying no to automatic, unhelpful behaviors. This is a direct way to retrain neural pathways without waiting for external circumstances to force change. Exercise. Building your mind's language. Choose one area of life you want to improve. Write a clear, positive affirmation in the present tense. Visualize yourself achieving your goal for 5 minutes daily. Feel the emotions fully. Record any changes in thoughts, feelings, or actions over the week. Consistency is key. Repetition plus emotional intensity equals rewiring the brain for transformation. Why this works? Your subconscious mind is always listening. When you speak with intentional words, images, and feelings, you rewrite old patterns and create new mental highways towards success. Think of affirmations and visualization as the vocabulary and grammar of the life you're designing. Master this language, and your inner dialogue will stop sabotaging you. It will start guiding you toward your goals. Chapter 11. Emotion as the fuel for thought. Why emotions give power to your mental focus. Thought alone can influence your life, but when paired with emotion, it becomes irresistibly powerful. Emotion acts like gasoline for your mental engine. It energizes, accelerates, and directs your thoughts toward creating real-world results. Without emotion, even the clearest visualization or affirmation may feel flat, ignored by your subconscious. With emotion, your brain starts treating imagined outcomes as urgent, relevant, and achievable. The science behind feeling your thoughts. Neuroscience shows that the brain releases chemicals when we experience strong emotions. Dopamine, adrenaline, and oxytocin, all of which strengthen the neural pathways connected to our thoughts. Positive emotions, joy, gratitude, excitement, make your mind more creative and solution-oriented. Negative emotions, fear, anxiety, resentment, focus your mind on survival, limiting your perspective. By intentionally pairing thought with the right emotion, you supercharge the law of mental equivalence from Chapter 3 and accelerate the manifestation of your goals. Emotion amplifies visualization. Picture this. Two people visualize a promotion at work. Person A thinks about the scenario calmly, almost mechanically. Person B imagines receiving the promotion, feeling the excitement, pride, and gratitude as if it's already real. Who do you think will notice opportunities, prepare better, and take action? The answer is obvious. Emotional energy turns mere imagination into a magnet for action and opportunity. Emotions as feedback signals. Your emotions also serve as a compass. Positive emotions indicate alignment with your values and goals. Negative emotions signal resistance, limiting beliefs or actions misaligned with your true vision. By listening to your feelings, you can course correct in real time, strengthening intentional thought patterns. Exercise, emotional visualization. Choose a goal or desired outcome. Close your eyes and visualize it clearly. Engage all senses and fully feel the emotions associated with achieving it. Repeat daily for at least 5 minutes, making the experience as vivid as possible. Note any shifts in mood, confidence, or actions throughout the day. The key is feeling it as real now, not hoping it will happen someday. Emotion transforms abstract ideas into lived experience. Why emotion matters. Thought without emotion is like trying to light a fire with dry leaves. It may smolder, but it won't catch. Emotion ignites the flame, giving life to your ideas and guiding your actions. When you combine intentional thinking, Chapter 9, mental language, Chapter 10, and emotional energy, you create a mental engine that consistently drives you toward transformation. Chapter 12, the habit loop of the mind, turning thoughts and emotions into automatic, life-shaping habits. Your brain loves routines. Once a thought or behavior is repeated enough, it becomes automatic, requiring less energy and attention to execute. This is why habits are the bridge between intention and reality. They turn deliberate action into effortless momentum. When intentional thinking and emotion are looped into habit, your mind starts creating transformation automatically. The 3 components of the habit loop. Cue, the trigger that initiates a thought, feeling, or behavior. This could be a time of day, a situation, or an emotional signal. Routine, the thought pattern or behavior that follows the cue. In transformation, this is the intentional thought or emotional practice you choose. Reward, the positive reinforcement your brain experiences, which encourages repetition. This can be emotional satisfaction, a sense of accomplishment, or seeing progress toward a goal. When repeated consistently, this loop rewires the brain and creates automatic alignment with your desired reality. From thought to habit. Intentional thinking and emotional visualization are powerful, but without habit, they remain intermittent sparks. To make them lasting, set a cue. Choose a daily trigger like waking up, before meals, or before sleep. Practice the routine. Repeat your affirmation, visualization, or emotional exercise consistently. Notice the reward. Feel the sense of empowerment, clarity, or focus that follows. Even 5 minutes daily can cement a habit that grows stronger over time. Exercise. Habit mapping for transformation. Pick one thought-emotion practice from previous chapters, for example, affirmation plus emotional visualization. Identify a natural cue in your day to anchor the practice. Perform the practice consistently for 7 days. Record the feelings, insights, and small changes in behavior. Adjust the loop if needed, ensuring the reward is meaningful enough to reinforce repetition. After a few weeks, this becomes an automatic mental routine, guiding your brain toward your chosen reality without constant effort. Chapter 13. Surrounding yourself with mental reinforcement. How your environment and relationships shape the thoughts you reinforce. Your mind is not isolated. It's constantly influenced by the people, media, and surroundings you expose yourself to. Just as weeds can overrun a garden, negative influences can quietly undo even the strongest mental habits. To thrive mentally, you must curate your environment so it consistently reinforces your intentional thoughts and emotions. The power of influence. Consider this. Humans are wired to mimic, adapt, and respond to the behaviors and attitudes of those around them. If your friends are constantly fearful, doubtful, or negative, your brain absorbs those cues, even unconsciously. Conversely, surrounding yourself with positive, growth-oriented influences amplifies your mental habits. Confidence becomes contagious. Optimism feels normal. Opportunity-focused thinking becomes automatic. Your environment acts as a feedback loop, either supporting or sabotaging your transformation. Media and mental diet. Not all reinforcement comes from people. Books, podcasts, social media, and news also shape your thoughts. Consuming fear-driven or cynical content reinforces old limiting patterns. Engaging with inspiring, educational, or growth-oriented content strengthens new mental pathways. Think of it as a mental diet. Choose inputs that nourish the mind rather than poison it. Physical space matters. Even your physical surroundings affect your mind. Cluttered, chaotic spaces encourage distraction and stress. Clean, organized, and purposefully arranged spaces promote focus and calm. Your brain picks up on subtle cues from your environment. Arrange your space to signal clarity, control, and possibility. Exercise. Environmental alignment audit. List the top 5 people, media sources, and environments you engage with daily. Evaluate. Do they support or undermine your new mental habits? Make intentional adjustments. Spend more time with positive, ambitious people. Limit exposure to negative media. Organize your workspace or living area for focus and calm. Note changes in your mindset, energy, and daily choices over the next 2 weeks. Even small tweaks compound over time, reinforcing your mental transformation naturally. Why this matters. You've built intentional thought-emotion habits, chapters 9 through 12, but without reinforcement, they risk decay. By consciously designing your social, informational, and physical environment, you multiply the impact of your mental practices. Transformation is not just internal, it's contextual. Your environment can either accelerate your progress or quietly pull you back into old patterns. Choose wisely. Chapter 14. Sustaining your mental transformation. How to maintain your new thought-emotion habits for lasting change. Transformation is not a single event, it's a process, and sustaining it requires consistent attention. Your mind, left unchecked, will revert to old patterns over time. The difference between temporary success and lasting transformation lies in reinforcement, reflection, and refinement. The 3 pillars of sustainability. Consistency. Keep practicing your thought-emotion habits daily. Repetition ensures they remain wired into your brain's neural pathways. Even 5 to 10 minutes of focused practice every day compounds over time. Reflection. Regularly assess your progress. Journaling, mental audits, or weekly check-ins help you notice what's working and what needs adjustment. Reflection keeps your transformation conscious rather than automatic. Refinement. Life changes, and so should your mental practices. Adjust affirmations, visualization exercises, or habit loops to stay aligned with new goals or challenges. Flexibility prevents stagnation. Creating a maintenance routine. Design a daily and weekly routine that reinforces your transformation. Daily, affirmations, visualization, emotional calibration, and intentional thought exercises. Weekly, environmental review, reflection on limiting beliefs, and habit loop adjustments. Monthly, goal review and visualization of next-level outcomes. Consistency turns deliberate actions into effortless defaults over time. Community and accountability. Sustaining transformation is easier when supported by others. Surround yourself with mentors or peers who model the mindset you aspire to. Groups or communities that encourage growth and accountability. Relationships that reinforce, not challenge, your mental habits. Shared energy magnifies progress and provides encouragement during challenging moments. Exercise, transformation checkpoint. Review the habits, affirmations, and visualizations you've practiced so far. Identify any old patterns or limiting beliefs creeping back. Adjust your daily routine or environment to reinforce new patterns. Set a small reward for consistent practice to maintain motivation. This checkpoint system ensures that your transformation is self-reinforcing, not temporary. Chapter 15. Becoming what you think. Living consciously as the creator of your life. You have spent the past chapters uncovering invisible patterns, confronting your inner enemy, learning the language of your mind, and building habits that support intentional growth. Now it's time for the final step, embodying the transformation. Becoming what you think is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice, a lifestyle of conscious thought, intentional emotion, and empowered action. The mind-action alignment. Your thoughts are blueprints. Your emotions are the fuel. Your habits are the construction process. When these three align, decisions feel intuitive rather than forced. Opportunities naturally present themselves. Challenges become growth experiences instead of obstacles. This alignment turns your mental work into tangible life outcomes. Living as the architect. To live consciously, observe your thoughts. Constantly monitor the internal dialogue and mental patterns. Choose deliberately. Select thoughts and emotions that serve your desired outcomes. Act consistently. Let habits reflect the mental and emotional structures you've built. Refine continuously. Life changes, and so must your mental blueprint. Adapt and evolve. By doing this, you are no longer a passive participant in your life. You are its architect, engineer, and builder. The ripple effect. Transformation is not only personal, it radiates outward. Relationships improve because you bring conscious presence and emotional intelligence. Work and career flourish because you act from clarity and confidence. Your environment begins to reflect the values and priorities of your renewed mind. What starts inside inevitably shapes the world outside. Exercise, your daily architecture. Begin each day with a clear intention of the person you want to be. Reinforce it with affirmations and visualization. Pay attention to thought patterns and interrupt those that do not serve your blueprint. End each day reflecting on moments that aligned with your vision and noting areas for refinement. Over time, this becomes less effortful. Your mind naturally gravitates toward the reality you've designed. Final thoughts. Becoming what you think is not magic. It is applied psychology, disciplined practice, and conscious living. Every thought you choose, every emotion you cultivate, and every habit you maintain shapes the architecture of your life. The moment you fully grasp this, you realize that the power to transform your life has always been in your mind. Now it's yours to build.